Reacher laid on the cot in the jail room bed, staring up at the ceiling. Interesting predicament he's got himself into here. A man laid on the cot across from him. Larger man. Clearly in great shape at one point in his life, but has gone downhill in recent years. Still visibly muscular. On the arms at least, even in the jailhouse uniform. Beer belly is protruding quite a bit though. The man stared at Reacher. "I'm telling you, I know you," the man said. Reacher said nothing. "You ever do time up here before?" the man said. Reacher said nothing. "Maybe it's from when I was younger." "You didn't go to the University of Mississippi, did you?" the man said. "You know, I went to Mississippi State myself, and I know you didn't go there, but you look like a face that I kind of hated, so maybe you went to Old Miss." Reacher looked at the man, saying nothing. "No, you didn't go to Old Miss. I would have recognized your name. Golly, you are a big guy, though. Definitely look like you played football. I know you from somewhere." Reacher felt it was time to break the silence. Looking back at the ceiling, he goes, "Yeah, I played football. Not for Ole Miss, though." The man said. "I mean, you look like a football player. You're not Jack, are you?" Reacher kept staring at the ceiling. "How did you get here?" Football is a game he probably should have never played. After his first game, the coach pulled him aside and said it was almost dangerous to have him out there. He was too violent to play the game. But at the University of Army, West Point, you had to play at least one sport. And all the other ones just didn't seem as interesting. So Reacher pulled it together. He was second on the depth chart for middle linebacker. I mean, how could he not be? The day he walked into campus, 6'5", 230 pounds, the coaches were ogling him. A specimen. It's not often someone that large joins the Army. They had him on the special meal plan, and they actually made him lift weights, something Reacher hated. By the time the first game rolled around, he was standing at 6'5", 250 pounds, and they had him as middle linebacker. Now, you'd think at 6'5" he'd be an interception machine, but Reacher had no interest in interceptions. In fact, the coaches would get mad at him because sometimes he would let the offensive player catch the ball just so he'd get a better hit at tackling him, which didn't help the game plan. That first year at Army was rough. Reacher had never played organized football before. He understood the concepts of tackling and stopping, and the rules were simple enough. But he didn't have a true feel for the game. He was like a one-man army, which is pretty ironic because it's a team sport, kind of like war is a team sport. As the season advanced, he learned more and more of the concepts of the game, the strategy. But it was his history teacher that really brought him a love for football. As he was reviewing military strategy, the teacher made references to football and how football is also a game of tactics, applied strategies, learning from your opponent. This fueled a fire within Reacher. It was no longer just a mind-numbing, violent sport. It was something he could conquer, something he had to be better at. What a different path he would have followed had he not been on the football team. He probably would have gone on to a great military career as a police officer and done some wild things in the years that followed. But that first season changed something in him. It was not a good year for Army, though. Army went 2-10, including losses at Navy and Air Force. The offense struggled. Multiple players left the team at the end of that first season. The defense struggled. But Reacher kept getting better. He looked over at the man. Yeah, I played for Army. Something lit up in the man's face. You. Reacher paused. Yeah. I'm the one you're thinking of. You're Jack, the man said. Yep. That's me, Reacher said. Unfortunately, fame preceded him. Reacher would have much more preferred to have been invisible, to have disappeared into society, a giant unknown to the world. But unfortunately, football games are televised, and when you're 6'5", 250 pounds, and dead set on hitting the opponent as hard as you can, and happen to understand the concepts of football, people figure out how you are real quick. I never understood, the man said. Why? Why'd you play for Army for all those years? You guys were terrible. Yeah, we were. We didn't start good. Life's all about choices, isn't it? Reacher smirked and looked at the man. What are you trying to say? The man said back. Reacher said nothing. The man was standing in the cell this time, trying to impose his will over Reacher, although he'd still be a much smaller man by comparison, probably 6'2", maybe 270 with the weight, kind of looked like a stout offensive lineman now. Reacher kept laying there. Don't get yourself worked up, he said. It's not worth it. Yeah, you're probably right, said the man. I'll be out of here before you know it. They don't have anything on me. I wouldn't say that, said Reacher. If they didn't have anything, you wouldn't be here. It's all a misunderstanding, the man said. That lying bitch doesn't know what's good for her. Eventually she'll come to her senses and they'll realize it's all made up anyway. Reacher said nothing. The man's enamored with Reacher at this point, was trying to delve back into conversation. Tell me about that first year. You guys were on quite the winning streak, beating Navy every year, beating Air Force, winning those out-of-conference games, and you got crushed every game. It's like you guys forgot how to play football. Well, I never knew how to play football, said Reacher. I was learning as we went. I was surprised they even let me on the field. The man thought back. I don't remember that. He said, I just remember you as a beast. Reacher shook his head. You're remembering the later years, he said. That's not how it started at all. The man sat down. Well, we'll get a phone call later. I'll see what I can remember. Reacher stared. This wasn't going anywhere, but he wasn't in a mood to push the conversation further. He needed some information from the man. He needed to know why he was there and what he'd really done. Because that is the key to getting out of this situation. It wasn't time, though. He needed the man to think he was really trapped there before he started sharing more. Reacher closed his eyes. It all came back to him. That fresh-cut grass, that crisp New York air, and the snap count as he lined himself up to sack the quarterback. Jack Reacher, football star. Well, freshman learning curve, but football star. Reacher drifted off to sleep.